Ever feel like your calendar is running you instead of the other way around? Meetings are piling up, time slips away, and at the end of the day, you kind of wonder where all the hours went. What if I told you there's a way to take back control of your schedule and actually create time for what matters most to you or what matters most in your business? Hey there, I'm Jessica Littleton, and you've found the Streamline and Shine podcast, where we simplify, systemize, and help you shine in what you do best. I help business owners streamline their back office operations so they can focus on growing their businesses without feeling buried in all of the admin work. If you're like me, maybe you used to think if your calendar was full, it meant you were being productive. I know that's what I thought, but in reality, I was just busy. I was constantly jumping from task to task without any real progress. Once I started using a smarter scheduling technique, everything changed. And today, I want to share those strategies with you. First, I want to address something that came up as a question from my last episode. Why do I keep looking off to the left or the right? And I just want to let you know that's where my notes are. And in order to make sure that I stay on track, I have my notes set up behind the screen. So if you have additional questions, feel free to send them my way. Eventually, I'll do a behind the scenes for you. But for now, let's focus on your business and what you need to really streamline your processes so you can shine in your industry. Okay, so calendar management. Let's take a look at what we can start with. Different ways you can work your schedule so that it's not taking over your time. So instead of reacting to tasks when they come in, going after those emails we talked about in the last episode, every time the little chime would go off on your computer, time blocking is also going to help with productivity and your ability to focus. When you proactively assign dedicated slots in your schedule to deep work, times when you really need to focus, times for meetings, times for personal items, and times for checking in with staff, the method helps to keep you in control. Once you set up those designated times, it reduces your decision fatigue, that tired feeling after you make a lot of decisions. And it ensures that you have the ability to focus on those tasks that are actually going to move your business forward. This is where I had briefly mentioned being able to go to your folder system in your email during your focused time. Maybe it's time that you set aside for one particular client, and you can pull just that folder to work on. So, one of the steps that you want to take into consideration when you're blocking your schedule is, are there tasks that you do that are very similar? For me, I might write blogs for myself, for my clients at one particular time. I might block off one entire day in my calendar that is just meant to focus on writing. That way I can get into a good mental space. This is also for those times that we talked about answering your emails. So you may have a block of time in the morning to answer emails. You may have a small block of time after that to schedule calls. And then you're going to look at your different projects. Are we dedicating blocks to specific projects, or are we dedicating blocks to specific tasks in those projects? And that's where the individuality of your business comes in. Now, one thing that really helps me know what I have scheduled when I'm block scheduling is to color code my calendar. Now, I'm a big fan of using Google Calendar. It makes it really easy for me to schedule with other people, but it gives me a number of different colors that I can work with so that I can see where my meetings are. And I usually keep my meetings in bright red because I don't want anybody to fall through the cracks, nor do I want them to have to wait on me. So I know anything that's bright red in my calendar really needs my attention, and I need to be on my A game, which means show up early, make sure all of my tech is working beforehand so that I can give my clients the best service possible. The other piece that I do is I leave buffer time. And this is really important, especially when you're using an automated scheduling tool, something like Calendly. I give myself 15 minutes between phone calls. That way, I can do a real quick summary for myself on what that phone call was about. I can double check if there was anything I needed to put into my calendar from that phone call, and if there are any other actions that I will need to focus on when I go through a different block in my calendar later. When I'm doing Zoom meetings, I try to leave about a half hour afterwards because my Zoom meetings are usually an hour to 2 hours long, which means that might be time for me to refill a water bottle, run to the restroom, and make sure that I have those notes that were really important and file them appropriately. Not everyone has the ability to put that much buffer time between their meetings, especially if you're doing Teams meetings or Zoom meetings. And in those cases, try to figure out how much time you can put for a buffer. Even a 5-minute buffer between phone calls or between meetings where you could take a deep breath and re-engage your brain into the next particular project allows you a better focus. And we all need at least 5 minutes every so often to make that run for water or to the restroom or just to get up and stretch our legs. Remember, sitting at your desk all day, while it might make you feel like you're being productive, sometimes can lend a hand to really just being busy and not accomplishing anything. This is where I started to bring up some of those automation tools. Scheduling tools like Calendly, Acuity, or Google Calendar appointment slots eliminate having to go back and forth between parties, book based on what your real availability is. So for Calendly, I link it to my business calendar that is part of my Google Workspace. What this does is any appointments that are coming in are on this calendar, but I can also share this calendar with my personal calendar to see if there's anything that's overlapping. If I have an overlap, I make sure that either those calendars are syncing together or I note it on my business calendar. Calendly sees what's blocked off on my calendar already and only makes available the times that are truly available. That way I can give specific links to specific times through Calendly if I'm scheduling with someone, or I can give them my scheduling link and they can see the available times. When someone books a time, it automatically is blocked off on my calendar with any additional notes that the person has left through Calendly. It also makes sure to get an email or a phone number so that if there is something that comes up and you need to reschedule, it is much easier to do so. You can also go through and set no meeting days. This can be really important. I have a client who loves to keep Friday as her follow-up Friday. This means she wants to be able to schedule what happens on that day so that by the end of the day, she knows all of the loose ends from the week are tied up nice and neat in a bow. So she does not schedule any meetings. We use Calendly to block that day off. This protects your deep work time, so maybe you have no meeting times during specific days of the week. Maybe Tuesday afternoons are really set as a no meeting time so that you can dive deep into a specific project. And that allows you to focus specifically on one item without having anybody bother you. You might also need to limit the meeting lengths. I don't know about you, but I've had bosses who will call a meeting and say that it's going to be a 15 or 20-minute meeting and it lasts for an hour. Now, you can certainly set defaults for 30 minutes or 60 minutes, knowing that that's the maximum amount of time that you want to be there, but you can always cut them shorter. We really want to make sure, though, that the information you want to cover in that meeting will fit into that meeting time. So this method of limiting the meeting times down to 25 minutes or 50 minutes instead of full hour blocks or multiple hour blocks can help you to get really specific on the message. What are you covering during that meeting? And does it all need to be covered during the same meeting? Or can some of it be covered with an email? I mentioned earlier that I can merge my calendars in Google Calendar, and it really has been a lifesaver as a business owner. So anyone who manages multiple projects, maybe you're a business owner and you have a family at home and you want to be able to see all of that at the same time. If you're constantly switching between a personal calendar and a business calendar or multiple project calendars, it's really easy to get yourself double booked or to forget an important meeting or task. When you merge these calendars, it lets you see everything in one place so you can balance your work-life schedule seamlessly, or you can ensure that you're spending the correct amount of time on each of the projects and their needs. How can you do this? Well, if you are a Google Workspace subscriber, you do have a Google Calendar that will work alongside your Google Drive and your Gmail. What you would do is open your Google Calendar on your computer. You would click on Settings and click on Add Calendar. From here, you can import other calendars from work, home, other platforms, other projects by entering the emails associated with them. You can then overlay them or turn them on and off. What I love is that I can import some of my client calendars into my business calendar. I can turn them on when I want to see them, and I can turn them off whenever I'm working on someone else's project. Just because they are showing in my calendar when I'm on the computer does not mean they are affecting my Calendly. If I am not importing all of their schedules into my calendar as my own appointments, they will not sync with Calendly. So I do make sure when I'm importing my personal calendar, if I have doctor's appointments, that that is syncing with my business calendar. And I import it as a business appointment as well. Now, this also allows us to use different colors for each calendar that we're importing into the Google Calendar. So you might pick your favorite color for your home calendar and maybe one of the colors in the logo for your business calendar. Assigning colors for business, personal, and family events makes it really easy so that you can distinguish what's happening at a glance. Really helpful about sharing calendars is that you also have the ability to share with key people. If it's a team that you're working together on the project for, you can share your calendar together with the team. Or family members can share a family calendar, which means that if you are making a dentist appointment for maybe your children and your spouse needs to know because they'll be the one taking them to the appointment, it's already there in the shared calendar. When you set up your calendar, you can also set up calendar reminders and notifications. And these are great because they can be customized. They're reminders to alert you about meetings that you're having, deadlines that you might have, and even personal commitments, really helping you so nothing slips through the cracks. What I like to do is to make a 30 or 15-minute reminder alert that comes through on my phone. It comes through as an SMS text message so that I am reminded not to miss that particular meeting. And so with my buffer time, it allows me to prepare all of the materials that I need for each meeting. Now, how can we prioritize things so that we're not overloading our calendar? Because now that I've given you a lot of tactics for organizing your calendar, it might feel overwhelming to look at it and see all these different colors. So let's be truthful with ourselves, with our teams, and also with our managers. Not all meetings are necessary, and not all tasks need to be scheduled. So think about the things that take priority, and this will help you to keep your calendar from overflowing. Things like running to refill your water. Unless you are someone like me who forgets about that, it does not need to be on your calendar. I keep my reminders off of my calendar by scheduling with my speaker assistant. So Alexa or Google can help you set reminders that don't need to be on your calendar. If you prioritize the high impact tasks, make sure you do those at the points of the day when you are able to focus the best. For me, I focus the best in the morning, so I start my day with some of the most critical items on my calendar before diving into additional meetings. I try to keep my meetings in the afternoon because I feel I'm better able to focus on other people without interjecting or interrupting at that point. As you go through your calendar and your email requests, decline any unnecessary meetings. If you're thinking about scheduling a meeting and it could be an email instead, for example, you want an update from your team, you could call everybody into a meeting for 30 minutes to an hour and ask everybody to round robin tell you what they've been updating in the project. Or you could send a simple email, similar to what the federal government has been doing, I suppose, and say, I need an update on this project. Can you list the last 3 things that have been updated for me so that I can review? Everyone is able to get those emails back to you, and as long as you give them a deadline, usually 24 to 48 hours is the best deadline, then you'll have all of the information you need to review. But make sure that you are requesting this information to be gathered in enough time before any meetings you would need it for. If you have a meeting on Thursday, you should request that everybody has the information to you by Tuesday, end of business day. That way you have all day on Wednesday to review that information. Now, I understand that we can't request all of our managers to make certain meetings emails, but as long as we are taking the time to look at all of the other projects and items on our calendar and on our plate, coming in through email, coming in through phone messages, it will certainly show where things can be scheduled and where things need to be a little more fluid. I also like to do batching on my calendar. So if there are administrative tasks that I can take care of, let's say I'm scheduling marketing emails. Maybe I have 2 or 3 clients who ask me to help create marketing emails. And this is an example. I may decide that Tuesday, I'm going to block off the morning part of my schedule to only write marketing emails. And then I might break it down into each client. And I'll look at what marketing emails we need and how many can I get done in the amount of time that I've blocked off. This allows me to get them done at one time and send a bulk number of emails to my client for approval instead of scattering them throughout the week. I also, once I start writing, am better at continuing to write in the same sort of mindset. So if I'm working on marketing emails, it's better if I work continuously on marketing emails, even if they are for different industries or different products. I'm still thinking about how I need to approach that particular audience. Whereas if I'm being asked to research on a product or a platform, I'm going to need to access different parts of how I analyze things. And so if I'm mixing and matching those two tasks, I tend to feel like I'm bouncing back and forth between different parts of my brain, and it slows down my process and makes me less focused. When you dedicate one block per week for things like your personal errands, maybe you know that every Thursday you need to go to the bank and to the post office. And so you block out time every Thursday for that particular personal errand. But then you're able to take your calls at one particular time during each day, and you're able to have your meetings during particular times throughout the week. It makes things a little bit more predictable and less forgettable in your calendar as well. So, if taking control of your schedule isn't just about efficiency, what is it about? It's about giving yourself the time and mental space to be able to grow yourself, your business, and your products without burnout. And with just a few little items, one or two of the suggestions I've given, you can free up hours every week. So, which scheduling hacks are you going to try first? I'd love to hear. These tips and tricks that I share may not work for everyone, but one or two can make a big difference in your calendar. And I really like to make things easy. So I've put together a scheduling efficiency quiz that will lead you to a guide later on. You can grab all the information down in the description. I want to thank you again for tuning in to Streamline and Shine with Jessica Littleton. It was great having you with me today. And I hope you'll come back to join us on the podcast where we simplify, systemize, and help you shine in what you do best. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.